Canadian Immigration Live Q&A. This is the Express Entry version, although we will talk about some other areas given the fact Express Entry has stalled out considerably over the last little bit. I'm Mark Holthe, a Canadian immigration lawyer, and this is one of the only live Q&As offered that is directed specifically towards Canadian immigration. So, with that being said, Happy New Year to everybody. This is the first edition of 2023. And it's hard to believe that 2022 passed so quickly. This is the opportunity where you can get your questions answered about immigration, and we'll talk about a few little updates. A couple little teasers. There's been, I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but Richard Kurland, one of the fine lawyers amongst the Canadian bar here, immigration bar, produces a fascinating little periodical called LexSpace. And in that periodical, I'm just going to show you a little flash, and I'm actually going to promote it. He talks about some of the worst offending schools in Canada in terms of compliance, student compliance with their study permit obligations. And he also highlights the schools that have done the most study permits over the past, well, probably back to about 2014. And I'm going to show you that list. I'm not going to show you the worst offender list, but if you're interested and you want to get access to that information, well, all you have to do is subscribe to Richard's LexSpace. I'm just going to flip around here while we're waiting for a few people to connect in. I'm going to take this and I'm just going to expand this just a little bit up here, there. And then I'm going to shift this over to my Adobe Acrobat. So here you'll see that we have, this is the issue here, LexSpace. And this is just the intro to it for January 2023. You can see Richard's information is here for subscribing to it. And I strongly encourage you to do this. If you're an immigration practitioner and you don't already have access to LexSpace, well, I recommend that you do that. But you can see here, he has the ability to kind of dig in and get information and access to information that's not otherwise disclosed. And so I'm not going to go through and show you the list of Canada's worst offenders, but it's obtained under the Access to Information, IRC's Integrity Risk Management Branch, the list of designated learning institutions with the highest potential student non-compliance rates. So including no-shows, no longer enrolled, and no record. And the worst offenders, as you can see here on the actual report, have 95% non-compliance compared to an overall average of about 7% non-compliance. So what this basically means is that if you are coming to study in Canada, you want to make darn sure that you're not coming to study at one of these schools, because if you're applying for a study permit and the school that you're looking at attending is on this list, and the list is right below here, which I'm not going to show you. Basically what this means is if you are applying to study at one of these schools and they're already on the hit list for immigration, I can guarantee that you're going to have a whole lot of trouble getting that study permit approved. But what I will show, a little sneak peek, and once again, I want to confirm with everybody, as far as the lists are not terribly confidential, I guess. But once again, I just want to highlight here. Let's flip back to this. I want to highlight that you can actually access this. All you have to do is subscribe to LexSpace, and it's LexSpace at canimmigrate.com. And then essentially there are, Richard has lists of some of the top schools. And so what I want to do is I'll just share some of the top ones with you, because obviously this is a paid subscription and it's copyrighted and all those kinds of things. But some of the schools that are on the top 20 designated learning institution lists over the past, well, from 2014 to about January of 2021. So it's a while back this data has come forward. It doesn't count, what happened for the majority of 2021 and 2022. But it's not surprising that the universities in Canada really do a substantial number of the study permits that are issued. So international students tend to come to those universities. And so what are some of the universities on the list? Well, in no particular order: the University of Alberta here in Alberta, University of Manitoba, Simon Fraser University. We've got McGill in Montreal, York University, University of British Columbia, University of Toronto. So you can see there are, on that list of top 20, it's full of universities. We also have, in terms of colleges, Niagara College, Canada, the University of Ottawa obviously is on the list too. I skipped through that. University Montreal, George Brown College, Fanshawe, Lambton. So Lambton College, Conestoga. Let's see what else we have. We even have Seneca is on that list. And so these are some of the institutions where, over the last 6-7 years, the majority of international students have traveled to those locations to study. And so it's interesting just to see where people are kind of aggregating to. But when we talk about the indications of Minister Fraser, let's see if we still have him. Yeah, he's here joining us. When we talk about what Minister Fraser said the focus of IRCC is going to be for international students, it's really to encourage students to go outside of the major areas. And in the blog post that I wrote and the video that I did that's on our YouTube channel, you'll see that Minister Fraser identified that 49% of all international students have been traveling to Ontario. And so as we've talked about where to apply, which school should we go to, I've always encouraged individuals to, at any possibility, if there's real choices, to try to avoid going to the larger centers, because there's just going to be fewer spots available. So just wanted to share that little tidbit, that little update. And if you're looking for more information, all you have to do is go to the Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube channel. And when I flip over here, let me just pull this up. I've got the wrong screen right here. There we go. When you go to our YouTube channel, you'll see here that I have this video, TR to PR, the top 6 takeaways. And number 6 talks at length about international studies and the factors that you should consider when you're applying to study in Canada, given the high refusal rates. And where you go plays a big role in that. All right, let's see who we've got tuning in here after having a nice little break. So let's see who we've got here. Angie says, hey, Mark, thank you so much for doing this. I also want to let you guys know that when I first tried to go live, and there's a lot of technical issues associated with this, trying to go live, and the moment something breaks, then it's not like a pre-recorded where you can try over and over again to get things right. So these live streams, when we're trying to do these, sometimes they don't always work. So when I went to go live right at 10 o'clock, my system froze up. So I had to shut my computer off, restart it, refresh it, close all the apps, and now we're going live, which I'm really happy we were able to do that. So Angie, it's good to see you. Mohammed, hello, good to see you. More power to you, Mohammed. Let's see here. Oh, yes, the fox. She says, Mark, I have been waiting for you. I got e-Coper last Thursday. You're amazing. And then the emoji, couldn't have done it without you. Oh, I am so happy for you. A past alumnus of the Canadian Immigration Institute's Express Entry course. And so if we slide over here, this one right here was the course that the Fox took. And it was, the last one. I can't remember which cohort you had, that you had been a part of here when you, which of the Express Entry courses that you were a part of. But, individuals, understand, you guys, that the carts are always open now. I don't close them. And so if you'd like to access the course and you're in the stage in which you're submitting your application, this is always available. Also within the firm itself, of course, speaking to a lawyer, you can book a consult and join us. So there's a lot of options that are available when you are going through the Express Entry process, which for a lot of you, things have definitely stalled out. So we'll see what Minister Fraser has to say about it. Simi, it's good to see you. Mario says, I wonder if it will be a new pathway for PR in the coming months. Well, we know, like I talked about in the videos that I did, if we flip back here, you'll see in the TR to PR, these top 6 takeaways, which, by the way, if you go back to our firm website, you can go to blogs, and this search feature never seems to work for me. I don't know. Let's see if I can pull it up. Of course, no. Okay, well, that's fine. I'll find it here. Let's go back. Okay, let's try this again here from this level. It's always tricky here. See if we can get it to pull up here if I open it on a new screen. There it is. Okay. Hooray! I found it. So yes, the search feature does work. So top 6 list of key takeaways from the minister's report. In here, basically these are the things that I identified as where the minister's priorities will be for 2023. And this comes right from the report. And the whole nature of the report is all designed around strategies to expand transitions to permanent residence for those that are temporary resident in Canada. And so you definitely want to go here, check it out. My top 6 list. Work experiences in key sectors will be increasingly important. So if you find yourself in one of these key sectors specifically mentioned in the minister's report, that's going to be a positive for you. Job offers from Canadian employers will be much more plentiful and essential. So they recognize labor shortages. Express Entry is opening its doors to low-skill work experience. Well, we'll see how that works. We know that the tier system has adjusted to allow what were previously skill level C positions or even D to be upgraded to a tier 3, which is the minimum requirement for Express Entry. Rural Canada is on the rise. You can see the Rural Northern Immigration Programs, the various PNPs have, increasing opportunities for people who are looking to settle outside the major centers. 5, French language has never been more important, which we know. And then 5, international students must be strategic about where they're studying in Canada. And I go into great lengths in here as to why I feel that. But those are my top 6 takeaways that I wanted everybody to check out. And so you can read the blog post or watch the video and get some more insight on that. Okay, let's continue to zip through and do some more shout outs. Let's see here. Oh, we've got a question. The bottom says, how much time did that take? I hope you're a CEC. So we'll see if the Fox has a response there. Okay, let's see what else we have. Okring Timothy, good to see you. Hello. Oh, Anurag says, I'm working in a tech company in Alberta since July 2022. Should I apply for the tech pathway or should I wait until July and apply under CEC? Not sure how will Bill C-19 impact the draws. Absolutely. If the tech pathway is it's Express Entry. So if the tech pathway is you have an option to go through that, then absolutely pursue that. And Anurag, this is something that we help our clients with all the time, navigating the Alberta Advantage Immigration Program. So happy to connect with you. Just book a consult and we can help you walk through that process. Okay, so the Fox was Nova Scotia PNP, almost 5 months. You bet. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, we've got Obi-Wan Gaming. Hey, Mark, great to hear. And thank you for this opportunity. You're very, very welcome. We've got Bokang, who says, Happy New Year from Rome. Welcome. Good to have you here. Hardy's connected in. Good to see you again, Hardy. We have someone who's on the Express Entry Law private Facebook group. You can search up that group. So welcome. Great to have you here. And Anurag also says, Happy New Year. Thank you. It's great to have you here. And let's see, we've got a bunch of questions. We're just doing some shout outs here. Okay, Ali is already jumping in with a super. So we'll pull up a super chat here. He says, hello, Mark. Work permit expires January the 14th. It's January the 11th, my friend. CEC profile scores 496. In our consultation session, you asked me to still apply for post-grad extension of 18 months, which I did on December 31st. I'm worried, no draw. Hey, understand that at the very least, Ali, we chose that route because you have a backup, right? So applying for the 18-month post-grad, that will allow you to extend time and to be able to continue working. So many people don't have that option. And I'm really, really glad that you got that, in. Now, ultimately, when it comes to CEC, we'll have to see what happens. Your score 496 is not bad. So what is he going to do? Minister Fraser, what are you going to do? Your guess is as good as mine, you guys. Okay. Let's just see here if we've got any more shout outs. And please do let me know where you're tuning in from. I love to connect in and see where everybody is tuning in from all over the world. All right, let's jump back here. And, obviously there's a couple things that I wanted to share. And when it comes to Express Entry, I think there's a couple things that people are seeing, obviously, is that things are stalled out. And to a large extent, you guys, it's really because the rollover to tiers caused more problems for immigration than they anticipated. It's always like this. So they basically stalled everything out to try to fix it before they do draws again. I don't think if they had rolled over to tier and there were no problems, I think we would have continued to see rounds of invitation. So what does that mean for people that are looking to apply? Well, in the short term, unless the minister starts actually doing targeted draws, which he said he's going to be doing when, minister? In the spring, he says, whatever that means. When he starts to do those targeted draws, then because of the backlogs and because of the buildup, if the last draw was November the 23rd, and we know that there were, this many candidates already in the pool at this level, and 3,000 at 490 and 10,000 at 480, well, we know that these numbers here are going to continue to rise. And those from 500 to 600 are going to continue to rise. Those who have PNP nominations, because remember, there have not been any draws, not even PNP, for the past almost a month and a half. I guess we're almost into a month and 3/4 here. So are they going to do a draw today? Well, good question, right? I guess we'll just have to see. Some people thought or hoped that there would have been a draw last week. But at this stage, as of the recording right now, we are not seeing a draw. So we've got to be a little bit, a little bit concerned about this. What's going on? And why are these draws not happening? Largely, all the reports that we're getting, it's because of the problems with the express entry system. But the millions of dollars that have been paid, I hear you guys that are frustrated. I truly hear you. Okay. Let's dive in and get to some specific questions here. We'll see how we can do. I'll start at the top and I'll kind of work my way through. Super chats will get bumped. But at this stage anyways, the most important thing is just to get your question posted, and then we can go from here. Okay. So like I said, Ali, just to jump back to you again, you're on the right track. Hang in there. Understand, Ali, that the draws have to resume. So it's not like they're just not going to resume. They have to. So hang in there, and the moment we see anything, the moment I hear any news from the Canadian Bar Association or the Canadian Immigration Lawyer Association, I will absolutely share that with you. Okay? All right. Okay, let's jump in and get to some more questions. And if you can, when you post your question, one thing that I'd love for you to do is to put a Q in front of it. So like Unique Promise here, she says, can a DLI be changed after receiving a request for passport? This is a specific question that comes up quite frequently. And let me see if I can pull this up. There's an actual program delivery instructions here. Let's slide over here and I can show you. So changing your DLI if you're outside Canada. If you change your DLI before coming to Canada, you don't let us know, you won't be allowed to board. So if you change it and you don't let them know, you won't be allowed to board. If your application is still in progress, then you can tell them and submit a new letter of acceptance. If your application has been approved, and this is probably the one that you're addressing, for study permit approved, and you change your DLI, you must submit a new study permit application with a new letter of acceptance. You must also pay all the new application fees. So there's the answer right there for you, right from the program delivery instructions from IRCC. So can DLI be changed after receiving a request for passport? Well, if they've already approved it, you're going to need to submit a new application. All right. Okay. And, well, let's backtrack because I don't want to jump too far ahead. So you can see here, if they've requested your passport, then they haven't, the question is, has it been approved or not? So when they request the passport, you submit the passport in, then they put the visa in it and they issue the approval letter. So notifying them, well, it'll come to that officer as to whether or not they will make you pay a new fee and resubmit a new application. But you definitely need to let them know. You can see here, if your application is still in progress, I recommend if you are sending your study permit in, sending in your passport, that you tell them you submit a new letter of acceptance using the IRCC web form. Well, in your case, whatever instructions they gave to submit your passport, I would indicate that you've changed your DLI and include that additional information. But any changes that you make at the last minute, remember, can impact the adjudication of your application, even whether or not your application is approved. So good question. Okay. And if you have any other questions, Unique, just don't hesitate to slide over to our office. We always always are available to not only have consultations booked and you just can speak to a lawyer, but this is the first stage before we then advance to full retention with the firm when you hire us to help you. And you can see here our approach. When you click on About Us and our approach, it pulls up how we work, our direct lawyer to client collaboration. So you work directly with myself, you work directly with their lawyers. There's no middle people in between. And there's information here that you can get on how we work with our with people. Like I said, there's no middle people. And then when it comes to the litigation, it's one-on-one legal representation. So all of this is all designed to make our service really tailored to you and not genericized like you're in some kind of a big manufacturing facility. Okay, let's keep zipping through here and see what is next. Okay, Ma says, I got a Schedule A request and checked with my APR. Nothing is wrong. Many of my friends get this and basically copy what they have in the APR and get PR approved. Why RCC ask for this again? Well, if your application has been in the queue for a long period of time, then sometimes they just want an update to know what you're doing. Okay, we see that happen a lot with the Federal Skilled Worker Program if there's been delays. Now, with that being said, sometimes people in the statutory information questions, they answer a question a certain way that after IRCC has done some investigation, they feel maybe you should have answered it differently. And by sending you a Schedule A, this is something you have to take very, very seriously, Ma. If they send you that Schedule A and you answer all those questions the same, but you answer the same question wrong, an example is, have you ever been refused a visa to another country, right? And if you say no on your initial application and then you say no again, then they've got two instances where you have misrepresented yourself, and it's really easy for them to say, boom, 5-year bar, and we are refusing your application. So you are for misrepresentation and you are barred from coming to Canada for 5 years or applying. So these things are something to take very, very seriously. And one of the things that we have, within our website, you see here that we have a specific section on misrepresentation. What is it? Legal aspects, but also we have services that we provide, reconsideration requests. But in your situation, whenever immigration requests information, I always encourage people to book a consult and then retain us to go through and double check and make sure there isn't something else that's wrong. There are so many times where people come to me after the application is refused and there's nothing that I can do to fix it. Sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. The answers that you provide, you may seem to think that, or believe that they are fine and there's no issues, but IRCC and the officers adjudicating your application see them a little bit differently. So you have to be really, really careful when you're doing this because, nothing is wrong. Sometimes people feel that way when really there is something that you just aren't aware of. So that's a service that we offer to our clients. And Ma, if that's something that you feel you could use some assistance with, we would be delighted to work with you. And the links are all in the description below for how to book a consult with us. Okay. The tourism says, hey, Mark, Happy New Year. I'm assuming. Finally, I got a work visa of Canada. And I am in BC now. I want to apply for my spouse and kids. How much time going to take to process? And he's a physiotherapist. Okay. Looks like we were closed off there just a little bit. I wonder if there's any other additional information to that long question. I don't see a follow-up. I know a lot of people were pumping out questions, so I think I'll have to leave it at that. I don't see any more. Let's just see here. No, that's it. Okay, so yeah, as far as timing, obviously anyone can go to the IRCC website and pull up the processing times. So if we slide over here and you just do a Google search for processing times, you can see how long generally it takes for work permits. So if you're applying for a work permit and if we scroll down here, work permit from outside Canada, and then we go down a little bit further, and then we say which country, and we'll just say India for the sake of argument. And then we get processing times. Generally speaking, they're down to 9 weeks, which is substantially lower than it was in 2022 at the end of 2022. So that's generally kind of the processing time. So that's really what I use as a guideline. And so as far as timing, that's kind of what I look for. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Who's next up on our list? And if I've skipped your question, understand I try to ask questions that are general in nature that will be the most benefit to everybody that is attending. Okay, let's see here. Okay, here's a good question. So Evan says, hey, Mark, I have graduated, but my diploma will only be given to me in June. Does Express Entry accept the transcript and the graduation letter as the proof of degree? So there was case law on this recently. So in some situations, the graduation letter, if it has all of the information that IRCC requires, then there's an argument to be made that your transcript, the official transcript and the graduation letter may be sufficient. However, if you have a choice, Evan, and obviously, if you've got an ITA and you're under the gun and you don't think you're going to get another one, well, then you do what you have to do, which is to provide all the evidence you can, a letter of explanation. I would even reference the case law, the federal court case, if I was doing this, showing how the letter that you provided contains all of the essential information that IRCC would need to confirm that you had actually completed studies in Canada. I would even go to that extent. But if you have a choice, I would wait till you get the actual diploma, because that's what it asks for in the personal document checklist within the EAPR. It asks for it. Now, can you get away with it? Well, I'm sure there's lots of people that have provided transcripts and alternative, the letters from school and been successful. But I don't trust immigration. I just don't. I will go to great lengths to give them exactly what they ask for so that an officer doesn't even need to think. It's just there. There's no doubt. And going forward, it just removes a whole lot of headache. But there are situations, Evan, where timing is such that you just can't wait. You got an ITA that's expiring. You have to submit your EAPR. And in that case, I do everything in my power to basically judicial proof the application so that I can go and I can challenge it in federal court if IRCC rejects it, for not having that diploma. Okay. Here we go. Let's see. Okay. So Nadal has a good question. He says, can they post the job as a pharmacist to get the LMIA and then make you work as an assistant with another salary once you're there? No, that's 100% illegal. They cannot do that. LMIAs are based on a specific occupation, duties, and specific employment conditions. And it's 100% illegal for them to do that. 100%. Nadal, if you're in that situation and it's affecting you, then please slide over to our website and book a consultation. So go right over here, click speak to a lawyer, and connect right with one of us. It doesn't matter who you do, who you choose. I've got a bunch of consults that are piled up today. I'm not sure, but I even have, I've got one spot left even today. It looks like the whole day must be pretty full after this live stream. But you can see I have opened up my calendar substantially so that individuals will have the ability to book consults at a number of different times. And you can see I've really opened up my calendar over the next little stretch here to be able to help people. I know that there's a lot of people that put off booking their consults because I was away for Christmas and also taking my son down to Idaho for school, my son Adam. And so because of that, I just wasn't as available as I used to be. And so hopefully, if you're in that situation, let's look at it, because the last thing in the world I want is for you to be exploited by an employer, a sketchy employer. Okay, Branded Boy says, any chance for TR to PR again like it was in April 2021? No Canadian experience? Very unlikely. Yeah, I really don't see the minister doing that. I see him using his powers within the context of the existing programs right now. Anything's possible. Yes, like this fellow here can do anything he wants. But the reality is, I think it's far less likely and more likely that he will build in certain things within the context of the Express Entry system as it is, or one of the other programs. So, okay, Lewis said, me and my wife submitted our CEC in December 6th. When should I expect some news? I love this, Lewis. You know what? There are websites out there that track that crowdsource the data, right? That say, okay, I submitted at this time and therefore my application should be processed at this stage. We've seen it all over the map. It depends. Are you a PNP CEC? Do you have family that are outside of Canada? Are both you and your spouse inside Canada? But generally speaking, we are seeing that they're getting close to right around 6 months. Sometimes it comes back faster around 5. So they're getting closer for CECs. Thale says, do you think we'll have a draw today? No, I don't. I don't. And the reason is because there are huge issues. And those of you who were trying to access, let's pull up this here. Let's pull up the PR portal, okay? So those of you who are trying to access this to file applications, this system right here, we're finding that when you tried to log in, you were not having the ability to log in. So the PR portal was actually down. And this is something that we're seeing a consistent trend over and over again. So I'm not holding out that there's going to be a draw today. I'm just not. The reality is I don't know what IRCC is doing. Oh my goodness, you guys, what a world to practice in. Oh, what a world. And for you guys, it's so unfair that you guys are having to go through this and suffer through this. Like, we are well through the pandemic and these issues should have been resolved. They just should have been, and they're not. So, okay. Okay, the Queen's Empire. I'm going to ring this bell right here, which is my cue for you to slide over right here to book a consultation, okay, with one of our lawyers. And but here's the question. Let's see if I can get any general stuff out of here. So, Happy New Year. Please tell if I have 445 CRS and I'm preparing for French. An LMIA offer letter is being sold like for 45. So what should I do? Look for study from India. Well, you're going to do this here. I'm not, like, obviously it's illegal to accept a job offer. And if you know of someone who's selling job offers for 45,000, any of you guys out there that take advantage of that or use it or pay the money or do not disclose that to IRCC, well, you're contributing to the problem. And as long as there's sketchy people out there, crooked agents, unscrupulous employers that are exploiting people, as long as it exists, that process is always going to be more difficult. The crooked employers, the crappy employers who take advantage of you, that charge money for those job offers, I wish they were all shut down. I do. Because then good, honest employers, they wouldn't be at a competitive disadvantage. And think about it. Companies who charge you $45,000 for a job offer are basically using that money and you're working as a slave for free. And so they don't need to charge as much for their services or their products because they don't have the labor costs. And so they actually, in effect, have the ability to put out of business competitors that are trying to follow the rules. So you are making the system and the situation worse by contributing in any way to that, and by not like calling the report lines and the hotlines. And actually, I'll show you how easy it is, you guys, to find this. So report Immigration Fraud Canada hotline. Let's see if we can find it. There you go. That's pretty easy, hey? There's the number, 1-888-502-9060. How do I report immigration fraud? That's how you do it. So I strongly, strongly encourage that anytime you hear about any of those things happening, please, please report them. Report them at every possibility, because this kind of stuff, you guys, this, $45,000 dollars for a job offer, I have zero respect for anyone that is involved in it. So illegal, horrible, and destroys the process for all the honest, good people, including good Canadian employers. All right. So the Queen's Empire, after all of that, what should you do? Book a consult and let's explore, because it's not just a matter of should I apply for a study permit, right? 445 CRS is low. If you're preparing for French and you do well in French, you can have an extra up to another 50 points, right? That would put you up to 495, and that may very well be enough. So there's a lot of different factors, but I recommend you book a consult so we can talk about it. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, Minot says, hey, does applying for GCMS have any effect on processing times? No, it doesn't. They're two separate bodies. So when you're requesting your GCMS notes, just the officer's notes in the GCMS file, they're two different departments. So it doesn't impact on the processing of your application in any way. Okay, let's see here. Okay, this is Mahiri is connecting in on the Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook page. All right, so here's the question. I got an ITA yesterday from the OINP under the job offer foreign worker stream, but still I don't see any update about this on the OINP site. Normally my tier is in demand. My wage rate is less than median wage of the occupation and my employer is not unionized. Requirements say wage rate requirement doesn't apply if employer has a mutual agreement. Right. Should I still submit docs for ITA? This is 100% a consultation, Mahiri, because there's a whole bunch more information that we would need in order to give you advice and direction on this. If you truly don't qualify, like if the employer is not paying a wage that is at the level that the OINP expects, that can cause things to fall apart. When it comes to, as far as the updates on the OINP site, it's just really, really difficult to provide any specific advice. Okay. So I recommend that you book a consult and we can go through everything and make sure that you're actually set up to make a decision that works for you. Okay. All right. Joaquin says, Happy New Year. On November, my postgrad extension expired and I was waiting for my ITA. So I came back to my country, Mexico. I'm still waiting for ITA from Mexico. Could that cause any issues or is fine? You do not have to be in Canada to get drawn into the Canadian Experience class. If you have that 1 year and you're waiting for an ITA under the Canadian Experience class, and your CRS score is high enough, as long as you continue that 1 year of experience minimum that you require is within the 3-year period immediately before submitting your application, then for Canadian Experience class, then you're fine. There's not an issue with being outside of Canada. Okay. Okay, let's see what's next here. Okay, Shandon says, hey, Mark, if I marry a month before my COPR expiry date and inform IRCC about it, will IRCC add my spouse to this file? What if the web form is answered by IRCC post the expiry of COPR? Once again, I'm going to book it here because this is an issue. But I've dealt with this issue a ton with clients. And the reality for you, Shandon, is that yes, you can add your spouse and you make darn sure that you document every correspondence with IRCC. The web form is a mess. And I can't tell you how many times we've had individuals who have uploaded information through the web form that never got attached to the file. And then the application was rejected. In your case, if you marry a month before your COPR expiry date, you need to notify them. Okay. You can't land. You do not want to land in any way. So you absolutely need to notify them and wait for instructions. In that web form, you are going to very clearly outline that you fully want and expect and intend to come to Canada. However, you are now married, so there's a change in condition, which means that you may very well have to go through new medicals and maybe even updated police clearance certificates, and it could take up to 6 months or longer when you add a spouse at that stage, but you are definitely not going to land on that COPR if you're now married. And realistically, Chandon, I wish you would have reached out earlier and you could have started this process of advising IRCC well in advance. Leaving it to the last minute is really sketchy because with 1 month left, it's possible that your update could not even get provided to IRCC, and you get a response and instructions back from them before your COPR expires. But regardless, you still can't travel. So you have to notify them and provide all the evidence and that you've got and just request that the spouse be added. Okay. But once again, a consult is probably the best way to sort through that. Yes, Yuchi. I understand there's so many people that are frustrated. Where do you channel your frustrations? To the minister, to the Liberal government, to the immigration department? They all have a hand in what's happening for you in your situation right here. So CEC profile 42, work permit expires on February 20th. Is there any recommendations? Very frustrated. I understand there's not much that you can do, right? The only options are looking for ways to be able to extend that work permit, like an LMIA, for that the employer applies for to allow you to remain. Other than that, once again, and I keep doing this over and over, but with specific questions like that about your status and what options you should do going forward, that's really legal advice that requires you to slide over to our firm and just slide over and book a consult, and we can try to help you navigate things before time is too late. And like you're just over a month here before things start to really get dicey. Okay, let's see. Thales, I wish, Minister. Okay, let's see what advice you have for the minister here. So you say he should give at least 6 more months to documents test, 1 year of C-19, and now a bug in the system. What do you think? Hey, I agree with you. Absolutely. Yes. And yes, Yuchi, I know we're all waiting for that draw. All right, Hardy says, I'm turning 30 in April. Scheduled my outs for February the 6th and TEF for March the 3rd. On the scale of 1 to 10, how bad is it to age in this current climate? Well, Hardy, going from 29 to 30, we know that you're going to lose 5 points. But French language ability can increase up to 50 points or more in the context of an express entry application. So, it may not be as fatal, but the irony in the current world is that, if you're 29, a master's degree, 3 years of skilled work experience, and you have at least a CLB 9 in English, well, you're sitting at 469 points, which is nowhere near the rounds of invitation levels anyways. And so you have a birthday 30, you drop from 469 to, what is that, 464, if I'm doing my math right. So it really doesn't make a big difference in the grand scheme of things from that standpoint. But anytime you lose points, any precious point, it can make the difference in getting an ITA or not. Okay. Ash says, nice to see you after a long time. Good to see you, my friend. Do you think it's possible that the draws can be paused until spring? Basically, no draws until C-19. At this stage, anything is possible. Yeah, who knows? Like, obviously, there has to be a number of different, technical adjustments to the express entry portal to be able to accommodate draws and invitations based on whatever strategic approaches that the minister wants to take. So if rolling over from a 4-digit code to a 5-digit code is causing this much problems, imagine setting things up so invitations are issued in specific cohorts or targeted to occupations. Imagine what that's going to do to the system. So I'd love to have the minister join us and just kind of talk about what's happening. And the invitation is out there, Minister Fraser. Anytime you'd like to come join us to talk about these things and answer some questions would be phenomenal, because it's really hard for me because, in the early days, my friend, I did everything in my power to try to, to back up the party, to back up yourself and the work that you're doing, to back up the department and to help people to be patient. And the whole time that I served as national chair and on the national executive, I went out of my way to try to be as patient and just to really have your back. But, oh, my friend, like it's hard for me to do that anymore because things are just not changing. And I know you've got a lot of things that you can't control yourself, but, oh, it's hard. You're the minister. So I'd love for Minister Fraser to come join me. So that invitation is out there, my friend. And guys, Minister Fraser is a good guy. He is doing the best that he can in his situation, but it's hard. Departments, government, all these other things that are, not even within the minister's control are happening. And so as much as, I'm sure Minister Fraser would just like to wave a magic wand and fix everything, he's dealing with issues that are systemic. So, and they've been around for as long as, the Liberal Party has been in power, and a lot of them have been legacy that's been left over from the Conservatives who were in power, and the story goes on and on and on. All right. Okay, let's zip back here and get to a couple more before we wrap up. I don't think we have any other supers. I don't believe. No, we just got the one. All right. So let's go down and I'll answer just a few more questions here, and then we'll wrap it up for today. Let's see what is next. Okay, Preet says, I have 483. Should I wait for the draw or start applying for a study permit intake? This is once again another one of those questions that I ring the bell here and recommend you book a consult. But 483, if we look at where their scores are and we look at how many people are in the pool. In fact, let's just slide over and let's take a look here. So I'm going to pull up the rounds of invitations, and so you can see as of November the 22nd, we know that we can add on. If we look at the total number of people that are in the pool. So we know that 4,750 were given invitations to apply at 491. All right. And if we look back at the previous rounds, we can see that 491 was the lowest that it has gotten to in this modern era. Now, if we scroll back here and we look at how many people are in the pool, 491, there were 3,000 at the time of November the 22nd. Now, we know that most of these were flushed out, but every 2 weeks they were filling back up to a large extent, a lot of these plus 490 people. But you can see 480, we have over 10,517 that are in the pool from 481 to 490. And there's likely even more that are being added to the pool since this last round of invitation on November the 22nd. So when we get back to your question here, what should you do? Well, it's going to be a while for it to get down to 483. But one of the wild cards always is what Minister Fraser is going to do with his C-19 powers. With the ability has to be targeted and strategic in meeting labor, basically the labor demands for Canada. And that's part of why I was addressing my top 6 takeaways on our firm website. And please, you guys, I recommend that you go here because there is a ton of information. Like even I want to highlight some of the most recent blogs that Cedric has just created here for misrepresentation that go into a great amount of detail about how it works and what to expect and what you can do to fight it when, if immigration is alleging misrepresentation. And, there's legal aspects of misrepresentation, which is those of you who are really technical and want to dive into it. Cedric's done a great job of pulling in all the different areas of misrep from a legal standpoint, as well as a phenomenal list of some of the key seminal cases that really drive the ship for misrep. So I definitely want to encourage you guys to take a look at that. The avenues for how to deal with judicial reviews, like when applications are refused or delayed. And then also you can see here, we've got a lot of information for sponsoring family, visiting, working, studying, immigrating to Canada. And there's information on just about everything you could imagine here. So if you're looking for a source and guidance and direction, this is, know that the firm website is loaded with a ton. Right, Minister? Right. All right. Okay, so let's keep zipping through here. We are at 11 o'clock, but I'll answer just a couple last questions. Let's see if we can pull this up. Nicola, good to see you out in BC. Salim, good to see you. Let's see if there's any new questions that we can finish off with a bang. Let's see here. Casey, good morning to you. All right. Okay, let's finish off with Joe's question. And, right now, one of the main, we are heavily involved with some of our larger companies in doing large scale labor market impact assessments for certain occupations. And I'm just in discussions with some of the employers about just sharing some of the job opportunities that we're now starting to see. So our LMIA is approved regularly. It is more or less my only chance to get back to work sitting on 440 points. It depends entirely on the efforts of your employer to submit advertisements and show that there's no Canadian or permanent resident who's available to do the job. And I can tell you that in the last, even through the end of 2022, things really shifted. And now what we're seeing is many industries suffering from critical labor shortages. So for example, the one company that we're working with, our initial discussions with them, they indicated that they were going to be over 5,000 workers short. And our initial LMIA application that we're getting ready to submit for them is for an initial 100 applicants. And so I'll keep you posted on that as we kind of move down that path. But we do a lot of labor market impact assessments for our employers. And so, Joe, if your employer is looking to go through the process, it is super complicated. It is not nearly as easy as it used to be in the past from the standpoint of submitting and preparing and submitting the applications and making sure everything is correct. But it's pretty simple. If there are no Canadians or permanent residents, well, then the LMIA is going to get approved as long as the employers complied with everything that IRCC has asked them to comply with. Okay. All right. So any of you, I think you're probably aware that tomorrow, Alicia will be back with me and we'll be doing some more Q&A answers to questions tomorrow. And so don't, if you didn't get your question answered today, please join back tomorrow with myself and Alicia, and we'll get right back to it. That will start at noon Mountain Time, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, and I guess 3 Atlantic. So yes. So if you can join us, that would be great. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to everybody. 2023 looks to be super, super promising. I know with our law firm and all the work that we're doing to, to get the message out to all the different tools and resources that we're creating to help people, including all of these courses. Remember, we've got courses on a bunch of things now, not just express entry, but there's courses on spousal sponsorship. We've created the new study permit course, which I absolutely love. It took me a long time to get this sucker prepared, but this course is one that is well worth it. That goes into great depth. Basically the filing of your study permit application. And one of the things I love most about the study permit course is that many of you go through overseas agents and otherwise. Well, when you enroll in this course, the cost of the course is not exorbitant. So $250 essentially, depending upon where you're at. I'm in Alberta, so the sales tax pops up here. But essentially the course itself, when you register, one of the advantages is you can go through and you can do your own studying and educate yourself, so that when you're applying through an agent or whoever you've paid to help you with the process, this is a backup for you to know what a real solid study permit application really looks like. And because lots of times I see overseas companies or whatever, I'll just leave it at that, whether they're legal or whatever, that just cookie cut everybody. They just do the same type of application for each student, and their whole goal is volume. But you guys, immigration is specific. It's unique to you, and it's not something that you can take chances with. You have to take the time to build out excellent statements of purpose or study plans, and all of that is all built into the course. The letters of intent, they need to be compelling. There's information on the student direct stream and the regular stream and just about everything you can imagine. And it's accredited. There's 5 CPD hours for immigration consultants as well who are looking to take that course. So there you go. So you can check it out. And that study permit, as well as the spousal sponsorship, if you're sponsoring a spouse, express entry. We're building out even more updates to the LMIA course. The QET is now officially, I guess, coming to an end, right? So that was a free course that we had. All right. So there's just some of them. So thanks so much for tuning in. I know lots of people are bouncing in with a bunch more questions, but come join me tomorrow, okay? And we will, Oh, stand corrected. Okay, everybody's posting. All right, let's take a look, guys. We've got it live. Okay, well, there you go. So 507 CRS, not surprising. Okay. And there's Igor posting too. So look at that. Let's slide over and see what we've got. We've got it live right here, right while I'm getting ready to shut her down. It looks like they got enough sorted out. So let's take a look at the actual round of invitations. We're going to refresh this and see if we can get it. Oh, it looks like I've got to clear my browser data here, you guys. So let's clear the data and then see if this will clear. Come on, clear up. Sometimes I have to clear the data so that it will allow me to pull up the new updated page. Let's see, did I find it now? Yes, I did. All right, guys, here we are, hot off the press, round of invitations, right, literally off the press. Who's faster? Who's faster? Apparently the Canadian Immigration Institute is. So express entry round of invitations. Here's the breakdown. This is a no program specified draw, so it's open to everybody. They did a large number. This is the largest that they've done, right? 5,500. And you can see the lowest ranked candidate was 507. So what does that tell you? It tells you that a ton of people have been piling in since that time. So lowest ranked candidate, 507. The tiebreaker is only like just over a month ago. So anyone who submitted their application since December 6th and that has 507 did not receive an invitation to apply. Anyone who submitted by December 6th, 2022 at 11:07 UTC or before received, if they had 507 right on, they received that invitation. But there you go. So 5,500. If we look at the previous rounds here, you'll see that this total, 5,500, is one of the largest that have ever been done. Except subject to, let's click on the numbers. At the end of 2021, right through the middle of 2021, they did increase it up to 5,956, but right here, 5,500, that's our draw for today. And then of course the crazy 27,332. So there you go, you guys. There you go. That's the world we're in. So they did do a draw. And I said, I didn't think they were going to do it. So what is my word worth really? It's all speculation, right? It's all speculation. And so, yes, so there you go. So I jumped in, Salim, just in time. So score, Yassine says, hey, everyone, having a CRS score of 520. Well, if you've got a score of 520, then you should have been able to obtain your ITA, or you should be able to expect an ITA. So once again, for those of you who are tuning in last minute as we're wrapping up our live stream, because I've got a consultation right now that I'm missing, you guys. Okay, so there you go. Last little update. 507 was the round. No program specified. We'll talk more about it tomorrow, but congratulations those of you who did get an invitation to apply, and we know that the scores will start to drop down once again as they resume a normal pattern. All right, take care.